the Nephilim, giants with divine powers. The Nephilim are not the ones below Goliath and the three biblical references to giants with divine powers. They existed as giants of biblical mythology, surviving in legends of both Jewish and Christian theological traditions. Their mythological nature is vague and uncertain, but if there's one thing everyone agrees on, it's that they were huge and mysterious entities with great power. So what do we know about the Nephilim? Always in the religious mythological text. Were they giants? Were they descendants from angels or fallen angels? And if so, was the famous giant Goliath such an entity? The phrase Nephilim occurs 3 times in the Bible, once in the book of Genesis, and once in the book of Numbers, and once in the book of Ezekiel. The first mention in Genesis of these mythical giants occurs in Genesis 6:4, where it says, "But the giants, Nephilim in Hebrew, were on the earth in those days, and after that, as if the sons of God were going into the daughters of men, and they gave birth to themselves. Those were the giants who were, from the ages, the named people." Performance, at that time, there were giants on earth, but also afterwards, when the people of God took as their spouses a woman of the sinful world, they gave birth to a giant, and those giants and infamous people on earth. And before that, in Genesis 6:2 it says, "But when the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were good, they took wives for themselves and all whom they chose." And the translation says, "The people of God, seeing that the women of the corrupt world were beautiful, and thinking in a carnal way and being attracted by external beauty, chose and received wives from the daughters of the corrupt people." In this case, the phrase sons of God is a translation of B'nai Elohim. However, this does not always translate this way. According to the medieval Bible scholar Rashi, who lived between 1040 and 1105 AD, the phrase can refer simply to princes and judges. Other scholars, however, have hypothesized that the sons of God were angels who had children with humans, and their offspring were the Nephilim. Regarding Genesis 6:4, Rashi says that the word Nephilim actually comes from the word naflu, which is the homonym of the verb to fall. Not because they were fallen angels, but because they caused the fall of the world. In other words, they caused the biblical flood. The second mention of the Nephilim in the Bible is found in the book of Numbers. The verse reads as follows, "And they declared the ecstasy of the land which they had visited to the children of Israel, saying, The land which we have come to visit is a land that I have made the inhabitants of it, and all the people whom we saw in it were tall men." That is to say, these men gave to the Israelites a very discouraging description of the land that they had spied, saying, "The land which we came to spy is a land that devours its inhabitants, and the people whom we saw in it, they are oversized men." And here the verse identifies the giants as the sons of Anak, another group of people known as the Anakim. The identity of Anak is disputed, but there is historical confirmation of the existence of the Anakim. Perhaps he does not describe them as giants, but as people, and their existence is even witnessed in ancient Egyptian records. The question of the angelic origin of the Nephilim is not raised here. In this case, Nephilim seems to mean simply the giants. The last book of the existence of giants, the Nephilim, in the Bible is the book of Ezekiel, Ezekiel 32:27. The verse is followed, and this is the attribution. It says, "But they do not lie with those mighty of the uncircumcised who have fallen, who went down to hell with their weapons of war, and they put their swords under their heads, but their iniquities shall be upon their bones, though they were the terror of the mighty in the land of the living." And here the phrase mighty men in Hebrew is rendered as Giborim, Nephilim, or Giborim Nephilim. In the first case, this seems more likely. Nephilim simply means fallen heroes or fallen warriors. Moreover, the identification of Ekpeptokotokot angels, the fallen angels, the Nephilim giants is controversial, as they do not belong to the traditional Jewish understanding of the nature of angels. The other giants of the Bible, beyond the nature of the Nephilim and the biblical references to them, the issue of giants in the Bible is much more complex. For example, in addition to the Anakim, there were also the Rephaim or the Rephites, who are referred to in many cases as physical giants or ghosts or deified ancestors. And then there are the Amorites, who were one of the nations of Canaan. The existence of the Amorites is verified by contemporary records and accounts. However, in the Bible, they are described as huge, gigantic figures. Among the giants of the Bible, however, two stand out above the rest. That is Og and Goliath. Og is described in the book of Numbers as an enemy of the Israelites. He's said to have survived the biblical flood, either because he was too tall or because he was attached to Noah's Ark. The legend describes Og lifting a huge mountain to throw it at the Israelites in the desert, but Moses stopped that. Or Og, as Og has lifted a mountain to hurl it, Moses jumps and cuts his ankles with an axe. About Goliath, things in the Bible more familiar. Goliath was a giant who served the Philistine army and offered to fight against the chosen of the Israelites. David accepted the challenge and defeated him with his slingshot. This information was from the Jerusalem Post, and it's translated for you from a Greek article. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.